welcome to Lynchburg Live. I'm Linda Smith, your host, and before we get started tonight, I wanted to tell you how much I appreciate those of you who sent emails in after our last show on breast cancer. Obviously, I'm very passionate about the subject, so the positive feedback we got meant so much to me. In keeping with the topic or the theme of these shows, which is trying to introduce you to interesting people here in the Lynchburg area, my guest tonight is Jennifer Shadru. And I think I mentioned on the last show that I'm president of a science fiction group. And contrary to popular belief, we don't just sit around at science fiction meetings with Spock ears and Darth Vader respirators quoting lines from science fiction movies. I try to entertain as well as educate at the meetings, so we try to get interesting guest speakers to come and talk to us. And one of my members had met Jennifer and suggested that we contact her for the possibility of her coming and speaking to us at a meeting. And so I did that, and that started about a 2-year relationship that we've had with Jennifer, which has been a good working relationship and a good friendship. Jennifer is a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, and she runs a facility called Birds of Prey. And I'm going to let Jennifer tell you what that's about. Welcome, Jennifer. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. I take in injured orphan birds of prey, such as hawks, owls, and vultures. I give them whatever medical or nutritional care that they need in order to become healthy again, and then I release them back into the wild. So that's my goal, is rehabilitating them in order to be releasing them.
I just think that's such a cool thing that you're doing. Tell me about your facility. Where is it?
I'm about 2 miles from the town of Amherst. I have a farmhouse that I've set up in order to take these animals into and to care for them. So,
do you have anybody that helps you with this?
My husband will help hold an animal if I need help in order to do medical care, but other than that, I do everything myself.
You don't have anybody to assist you in feeding or?
No, I do everything myself.
I know that you had told us when you spoke to our meeting that the less human contact these birds have, the better off you think they are.
Yes.
Because of the trust issue.
Yes. And not to mention that these animals have now become prey instead of predators, and they are now in my care, which I'm the ultimate predator in their world. So I think the less human contact, I think it's less stressful for them, and I think they heal faster, and it's better for them. Because I'm sure they're scared in this cage.
They have to be.
So.
One of the things that I thought about when I knew you were going to come and talk with us is that my mom told me that I was born loving cats, and that the first word I said wasn't mama or daddy, it was cat. And knowing how you feel about the birds and the dedication that you have to these birds, I wondered if you were born loving birds or if it was something that you developed along the way.
I developed it. I actually was a dog person. I grew up I loved all animals, but I had a special place in my heart for dogs, and it wasn't until I started working with the wildlife that I really fell in love with them. I really appreciated them. I just totally fell in love with them.
How do you become a licensed wildlife rehabilitator?
I started off volunteering at a local wildlife center. I actually started volunteering in 1998.
Is that here in Virginia?
No, actually I started in Maryland. And then I got my license to do rehabilitation in 2003, my state and federal license. In order to do birds, you have to have a federal license. For mammals and birds, you have to have your state. And volunteering at a local wildlife sanctuary would work. It's not what you expect it would be. It's a lot of cage cleaning. You're not handling the animals. They're not pets. So you have to respect them and understand what you're getting involved in.
I know that somebody recently said, oh, I would love to do what she does. And this was an x-ray tech.
Okay.
And she said, I love my job, but I would just love to do what she does. And she says, I ride along the road and I see hawks. And she said, most people just see trees. I see trees with hawks. But it's interesting to me to know what kind of illnesses and injuries you see in these birds.
I would say 80 to 90% of the animals I get in have been hit by a car. And for some reason, this area has lots of screech owls. Most of the animals I get in have been screech owls. When they come in hit by a car, some of them might be a little stunned, but usually they come in with broken wings, head trauma. And with owls, because their eyes are so big compared to the size of their head, they come in with eye injuries. I get a lot of ones that come in with possibly one or both eyes are blind. The good thing about owls is they can actually be released with one good eye because they hunt with their hearing. So as long as their hearing has not been damaged and they have one perfect eye, they can be released.
And they have a...
They actually, their eyes don't move, they actually move their head.
Oh, didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work with a veterinarian?
Yes, I love my veterinarian. She does the x-rays for me, surgeries. Whenever I need her, she's there. So we have a wonderful working relationship.
That's great. That is she in Amherst County as well?
She's at Peaksview Animal Hospital in Lynchburg.
Just give them a plug. Orphaned birds, our orphaned wildlife is different from injured and
right.
ill. How do you handle an orphaned bird?
Okay.
Or what is an orphaned bird?
Okay. Most people think they find an orphan bird, or mammal for that matter, and most of the time they're not orphaned. A lot of times the parents are all foraging or hunting for food, or they find a bird on the ground. Well, that's their natural thing. Sometimes they fall out the nest, sometimes by accident because the nest may collapse because of poor structure, or they're blown out because we had a storm, or sibling might have pushed them out, or they could have hopped out. But the parents still take care of them on the ground. And so my thought is, if you find a bird or any animal, you're concerned that it's orphaned, look at it. If it looks sick, or if it looks like it has an injury, or if it has bugs on them, or is in a dangerous place, like in a creek bed where it shouldn't be, obviously something may be wrong, or if you have found a dead parent nearby, something may be wrong. But if it's healthy and it's just sitting there, leave it alone. Get back home, call a wildlife rehabilitator and talk to them and find out, does this animal really truly need help? Because most of the time it doesn't. Some animals, such as rabbits, they only feed their young at dawn and dusk. So they're not there all day long. And so people find the nest, they think it's abandoned, and it's not. Or they see a songbird nest and they stand in there all day and the mom's not coming, that's because you're there. So you have to step back and give the parents a chance to help the animal. We get a lot of birds that, if they do come in who are not orphaned, we try to take them back to the nest. So we actually take them all the way back and try to reunite them with their parents, because that's what's best for them.
So touching the bird is not a problem. Like,
no.
you know, you've been brought up with the idea that if you put a bird back in the nest, that the mom's not going to come back to it.
Yeah, that is not true. All wildlife, you can touch them and you can put them back. The animal will take their baby. Kind of like if someone touches my baby, I'm still taking it back. Wildlife make great parents. They have recently discovered I went to a conference and they found that they can actually put orphaned birds or other species with a foster parent in the wild. So if you have let's say a red-tailed hawk who's a couple weeks old, 2 weeks old, and he cannot be put back in his nest. If you know another nest of a red-tailed hawk with babies who are 2 weeks old, you can put that baby back with this new parent, and they will take care of him. And they have found this with just not birds, but mammals too. They've had excellent success with surrogating the